Good evening and welcome to Open Your Mind Internet Radio. You have myself, Alan James.
And you have myself, Stephen George, back in the driving seat again. Very good evening.
You're back.
I'm back in the flesh.
And sleep deprivation has kicked in.
Yes, sleep deprivation has kicked in. I'd like to say, well, I'm here to say a very good evening to my darling wife who's listening in. She must miss the sound of my voice, and I'm only gone half an hour. But yeah, sleep deprivation. I actually forgot what it was like. The not the fears, but being awoken every 2 to 3 hours and winding baby, changing nappies, etc., etc.
But everything's okie dokie because last week obviously I played the message, and the wife is okay now, and well, happy with that.
Everything is as it should be.
Good.
Yes.
Good. Okie dokie. Well, that's good news. Oh, that's good news. And Steve back in the chair. The week before, the 21st, and I was hoping that I'd be back because obviously next week we have the 21st, and there's so much talk about what may or may not happen, and so at the end of the show we might have a little talk about that and see how things goes. Right. We have two guests on tonight. Our first guest, who we'll be bringing on shortly, is a lady called Claire Cullinan from DebtOptions, and we're going to be talking about exactly what Claire's been doing, because I think she's been doing a sterling job, and loads of people are jumping on board. But we've been asked, what is it that she's doing, and what is she doing with the banks and court cases and stuff like that. So I look forward to speak to Claire and finding out what she's up to, and obviously it's going to be great advice for people if they're in any predicament or situation. So tune in shortly for that. We'll be getting Claire in about 10 or 15 minutes. The other guest we have on is a chap called Timmy or Brien. And Timothy had a sit-in with a few people in the Bank Friends First because there's a bit of violence from bailiffs, I believe, that visited his farm or friend's farm. So we'll be getting Timothy on about 8:30 and talking to him, quickly just about what's going. But before we go any further, let's find out about the communication channels so we let you know how to communicate with us.
Absolutely. info at OYMIreland.com if you'd like to send us an email, either during the show or after the show. You can also log on to the guest book on the website as well. You can leave a message there for future generations. We also have the chat box, the chat facility on the website as well. You can log on to the front page and you can see an option there on the left hand side, which is the live chat. You can log in there with your real name or a pseudonym, and you can join in the fun and the frolics on the chat. You can also pose questions there as well to our special guests this evening. And the last method of communication is...
Give us a call on 046 927 1212.
046-927-1212. If you're going to ring in from outside Republic of Ireland, it's 00353 in front of that. Alan.
Cheers, Steve. Okay, now the bumper sticker campaign, which you're all familiar with, we've been trying to raise funds for that, and we had a very big donation during the week. We won't mention any names, but we know the person out there who's listening, thank you very, very much for that big donation. It made a big difference to the donations for the bumper stickers, and we are very close to reaching our total to get the stickers printed and get this nationwide campaign out there. So we just need a little bit of a push. If you do have the odd few euros, it doesn't have to be a lot, 2, 3, 4 euros, everything helps. If you don't even have that, then if you see any ads on the OYMIreland.com website and you fancy them ads, just click on them, because we get a few cents from them as well, and that helps to raise some funds as well. But a big thank you to the contributor that sent in the donation, because we really want to get this campaign out there and get everybody, hopefully everybody who's awake, having a sticker on the car and getting people to ask, what does that mean? And get people talking and educating people about what's going on. I'm awake could apply to anything. You're awake to the fluoride in the water. You're awake to the food, aspartame and the MSG. It doesn't matter. Basically, I'm awake means you're aware that things are going on.
So the sticker is basically a doorway to a lot of other things that's going on.
Of course, big time. So if you can, please, if you can afford a few euros, I know it's Christmas time as well, but by all means, click on the ads if you can't, and a few cents will come our way as well. Now, Steve, if you want to have a chat, but we can talk about this, because we did say on the show we're going to be talking about this, which is about the chemtrails.
The chemtrails? What chemtrails? Did you see chemtrails during the week? I didn't see any chemtrails. You couldn't see chemtrails for all the chemtrails in the sky.
Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing. I can't remember what day it was, but I do actually remember one morning. I think I was getting the kids ready for school. I think it was, and I noticed the plane going over. And it was actually kind of a bright morning. I won't say it was a blue sky, but it wasn't a bad sky. I do believe there had been some frost the night before, so yeah, it was kind of a clearish sky. But I've seen a plane going over, and you're looking out and you're doing your bit in the sink, and you're washing the plate or whatever, and you look out and you go, oh, I wonder is that someone going off on the holidays? And then you see the big trail behind it, and you go, oh no, it's not one of those planes, it's a chemtrail plane. And I think over the course of the morning, there was dozens and dozens of these trails all over the place. Vertical lines, horizontal lines, backwards and forwards. They were all over the place. And I do believe you sent me, I think Alan sent me, it was either a text message or an email to say that someone was it Wexford or Waterford had actually communicated with OYM just to say that they were getting bombarded as well on the same morning. So it wasn't just us, but the sky was absolutely covered. And we say Alan got the emails, and he got some text messages as well. I think the pilots are definitely working overtime.
Definitely working overtime.
Whoever is doing, I mean, I wonder, like the people who are doing these and spraying these. Do they not ask questions, or do they just get into the plane and fly? Do they not even kind of say, well, hang on, you want me to spray this? What is it? Why am I doing it? Or, are they just told, get up there, 30,000 feet, press that button, backwards and forwards, zigzag formation, come down, refuel, back up again?
Well, maybe they're told a spin on a story, that what they're doing is to help mankind or something, I don't know. But we did receive emails and text messages from people from different locations around Ireland saying, have you seen the chemtrails? So, just to acknowledge that we did see them, and we when people contact us, we make a note of it, and obviously if it's important, like chemtrails, we actually will talk about it. So we'll keep our eye out. I mean, obviously, people talk about the next few weeks, so to speak, and we don't know, but everybody has their own impression what chemtrails might be. Some people think that it's just a con, and they're not chemtrails at all. That it's just, it's actually exhaust fumes. But, we've looked into this, and we've had guests on who are kind of experts in this area, and they have confirmed scientifically that it's definitely chemtrails. So unless somebody has more information that can disprove what we've found out through the people that we've had on, then by all means get in contact with us. But, until we get that information, it's down to chemtrails. And
just a question up there from Howie. Did we check out planefinder.net? There was it last? I think it could have been last year sometime that there were commercial aircraft in the sky, and Alan would have noticed them, and he did actually check it out on planefinder.net, got all the information in relation to the planes, but somehow whenever there's a plane going over that's spraying the chemtrails, there's not a lot of information on planefinder.net.
No. Most of the planes have a system, an identification system called ADS-B, and that just identifies them to, obviously on Planefinder and to ground control. But for some reason, these chemtrail aircrafts don't seem to have ADS-B. Now, according to the guy who designed the site Planefinder, I was sending him an email and I queried this with him, and he said, well, there is a legislation that all planes will require ADS-B. But there will be an exception. Now, he didn't say there will be an exception. I'm just making the assumption that there will be an exception. Okay, so if you do see anything, let us know, and we'll try and check it out from our end and get in touch with people if we can. But we do normally go on to planefinder.net to have a look if we do see a chemtrail aircraft, just to see if it's on there. Now, the other thing that happened the other day, which you all know about, is the killing in New York, the shooting. Now, we don't have too much information on this. We don't want to make too many assumptions either. We are going to be in contact with some of the alternative media people in the States who we know to find out, because, yourself, when things happen for a reason. And a lot of the time, time and time again, there has been shootings, and what comes out from behind it is that it's more sinister than what we think. So we're not going to actually say anything just yet until we find out more information. But just to acknowledge the fact that we are aware that the shooting took place and a lot of people were killed. And
can I just say, and I don't want to detract from that issue at all. I think it's horrific, and I personally feel for the people. But on a kind of a separate note, I had a conversation as recently as about an hour ago with my father-in-law, and he was kind of giving his thoughts on the shooting and what happened, and he said they should they should ban the guns in America. No one should be allowed to have guns. And I thought, well, that kind of seems to be where someone who might be in charge or control wants things to be. They don't want they want the army and the military and the police to have the guns. They don't want the public to, I think it's in their constitution they have a right to bear arms. But it kind of seems like that they want guns away from the people. And I also said to him as well, the old cliche, he said, the guns, blah, blah, blah. And I says, yeah, but guns don't kill people. He said, guns do kill people. I said, well, no. I said, guns don't kill people. People kill people. I said, if I went to Homebase or any other hardware store and bought, I used your story. I said, if I bought a hammer, I said, well, it's designed to knock nails into a wall. But I said, if I cracked someone over the head with it, I said, and I went on a kind of a spree doing that, would hammers be banned? As a dangerous weapon?
But the same thing is with a car. Cars kill people.
Yeah.
I mean, that you could say that. It's not people kill people, but they're in the car and doing it. Now, there is one of our listeners on the chat facility was talking about the father was set to testify with LIBOR. But I heard that about that other guy who did the killing. So
the
there might be
killing,
the Batman killing. So I think there's some confusion there maybe. So, we need to see exactly. We're not going to make any assumptions until we do a bit more research and get a bit more inside information as to what's going on. But just to acknowledge the fact that we are aware of it, and we thought we'd just give it a mention.
And can I just mention to Engelbert345, it is very hard to read the red text.
Yeah, you have to change the text. Have to change the text there, mate. And the other thing that's on the list is that there's a banned documentary going around at the moment. It was banned in the UK. It was a documentary done by Keith Allen, who's an actor, and it was all about Princess Diana and the kind of shenanigans that went on with the royal family and everything else. And what seems to be happening is, as soon as the website goes up with that on, it seems to be shut down. And I've watched this documentary, actually seen it a while ago, and it really does make you think about how the royals were involved and what they were doing. It really does. There's just too many coincidences to say it was an accident. So we recommend that you have a look at that. You can just Google it and you'll be able to track it down. But if you have trouble trying to find it, send us an email and we'll send you a link that we have. And have a look at that. No wonder it was banned in the UK, because it really puts the royals in a bad light. So I just thought we'd mention that anyway. Steve, how's your week?
You're winding me up, right? How's me week?
Yeah, how's your week?
Are you taking the pee?
Yeah.
My week's been fine, actually.
How's your sleep deprivation going?
It's very depriving.
All
it
right.
is. No, the week's been fine. All things considered, yeah, it's been a good week. Doing a little bonding with the child, then the new baby, and also the other two children as well, and herself. But no, I actually had a chance to watch a documentary the other evening. It's one that I've had it for a while, and I haven't actually sat down to watch it because still playing catch up. And it was one done by, do you know what? I said coming up, I must mention that actually. I must mention Talon, but I can't actually remember the name of it now. It was kind of to do with all the financial, the collapse and the build up to it and how it's all kind of engineered. It was actually done by, do you remember the guy from used to be in the program Cheers, Woody Harrelson?
Wasn't an Inside Job, was it?
No, it wasn't Inside Job.
Okay.
It was something Ethos, ETHOS movie.com, I do believe, was the website associated with the movie. But it's Woody Harrelson anyway. I'll check it out now in a moment or two just to double check that. But yeah, he basically tells you about the whole financial collapse. I think it's about maybe a little over an hour. But he takes it. It's very interesting the way it's done. He kind of shows you from the beginning how it all knits together, how all the pieces and the people kind of come together, how money is created, and then he goes into the collapse. He goes into the whole psychology behind advertising. He kind of delves in towards the end of it a lot into psychology, and the way we see these products and we have to have these products. We don't know why we have to have them, but we have to have them. And then he backtracks to some guy whose name escapes me as well at the moment, but he was he was the father of psychology behind advertising. And he said he puts it down in front of you, step 1, 2, and 3, and how it's done is it's brilliant, So you see something on TV, or you see a billboard, or you see a product, and you go, I have to have it, and you don't know why, but how they do it, well, you know a lot about it too, but it's fantastic.
Well, I worked in advertising, so yeah, you have to have product Y because product X is no good, because product Y has more features on it, and then when you get product Y, product Z will come out, and that will have more. Yeah, that's the gimmick in advertising. But I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. I've just typed in the thing into the internet here, Ethos Movie. I just wanted to get the actual name of it, and it's not coming up. So maybe it's .net. But yeah, that was one of the things that I caught up on during the week. How has your week been?
How has my week been? Well, just a few things I want to touch base with. Did anybody see the doll video with Mick Flanagan getting harassed by the politicians? If you haven't, I'd suggest you pop over to YouTube later on and have a look at it. Mick Flanagan, they were slagging him off about his dress code in the doll. And they just sounded like a bunch of bullies and kids in the playground, the politicians. And these guys are the ones who are running our country. It was disgusting. And I said to Steve, when I seen this, I said, if that happened in a corporate company, in a corporate meeting, by God, you wouldn't last long. You wouldn't last long if you were doing that. Heckling somebody when they're talking in a meeting. But our politicians seem to think it's quite fun taking the rise out of other independent TDs who are just trying to talk and get their point across. And this is the kind of parasites that we have in the Dáil at the moment. And that's, people say, is that a bit heavy? No, I really do feel that our politicians now have lost the plot completely. They don't care about the Irish people. They're kowtowing to the Troika, and or the Troika, I should say. Is it Troika? Troika?
Troika?
Troika.
Troika.
Maybe Enda Kenny needs the Troika. Raise funds for Enda Kenny.
Yeah, and the Troika box. Yeah.
But I just find the parasites, and enough's enough now. We've had enough of this for years. We have to get rid of them. But just anybody who didn't see it, I'd recommend popping over to YouTube and having a look at that. Now we have a request. There's also a video of an Irish guy going around the country putting a thing called organite stones around phone masts. Now I've only just come across this organite. And apparently it's supposed to have the opposite effect. If you put them around the phone mast, it de-energizes the negative energy coming from the phone mast or something like that. So, number one, we're trying to get in touch with the guy who's doing this. And number two, if anybody knows who knows about organite, can you get them to get in touch with us? Because we'd really like to find out about this, because there are phone masts around where we are, and we want to get somebody on who knows about it and has some kind of substantial laboratory testing or some testing to show us that it works. Because if it does work, then this could be the solution to reducing the effect of phone masts and, Wi-Fi towers or anything like that, Tetra towers and stuff. So if anybody who knows about organite or knows the guy who's doing it, please get in touch and give us a shout. And the last thing on the list before we get our guest in, I was talking to Vin on TNS Radio the other day. And Vin said to me that in our Constitution, now if you look at our Constitution, the Bunrock Éireann Constitution, it goes up to Article 50. But Vin was saying we actually have Article 51 to 53, which you cannot see. But it's there, apparently. And I said, but hang on a minute. If it's not in the Constitution, what is it? And he said, well, number one, they won't tell you that it's there. And number two, they won't tell you what's in it. And then I said, well, do you know what's in it? And he said, yeah. So I had an idea Vin knew what would be in it. So it turns out that Article 51 to 53 of the Irish Constitution says that Freemasons are exempt from statute law.
Excuse me? Could you repeat that for those who maybe weren't listening?
Freemasons are exempt from statute law.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's in the 1919 issue of the Constitution, is that correct?
I don't know. I don't know. We'd have to get Vin. Maybe Vin later we might just touch base on that and just clarify for us. But apparently 50, that's why you don't see 51 and 53, because if people realised that was on the Constitution and they were exempt there would be war. Now, if you want to see the wording of the missing 51 to 53, if you go over to tnsradio.com/freemasons-exempt.html, or if you go on to tnsradio.com and just type in Freemasons Exempt on the search box, it'll come up and you'll see all the documentation that's in there referring to the Freemasons and why they're exempt from statutory law. Very interesting that, So just thought I'd mention that just to let people know. Right.
So we're all going to be Freemasons.
We all have to be Freemasons now to get away from statutory law. Okay. So if you want to check that out, very, very interesting. That's another thing that would have to be changed, obviously, in the Constitution when we get these bunch of parasites out of government and put in a party that can actually do something. Right. Okay. Without further ado, we're going to bring our guest in now. Claire, we met Claire when we were in a meeting in Mullingar, and Claire has been doing an excellent job helping people bringing court cases in the High Court against the banks. But Claire knows a lot more about this, and we've had numerous requests from people saying, well, what's it all about? Can you tell us what it's about? And I thought, well, why don't we just get Claire on, and Claire can clarify things and tell us what it's all about. Good evening, Claire. How are you doing?
I'm great altogether, gents. I'm laughing here at the idea of being Freemasons. We're finding it hard enough to be free people, not to mind anything else at the moment.
Yeah, I know. Trust me. I mean, it's just madness. But again, these things are being found out by in the Constitution and what they're doing, and they're taking our rights away bit by bit. And it's gas when you read the Gardaí oath and it said that you can't be a part of any secret societies. But and I'm sure that's in the judge's oath as well. But we know that Gardaí and judges and barristers and solicitors are involved in the Freemasons. We know it. We know that's the case. But so it needs a good shake-up. But listen, thanks for coming on, Claire, because we wanted to clarify what DebtOptions are doing. We know you're doing a great job. Loads of people going down to the High Court. But before we get down to that, give us a bit of a background of who Claire Cullinan is and your background and how you got involved in DebtOptions.
Okay, I suppose the first thing I have to say is I have no legal background whatsoever. I've been self-employed since I was 18 years of age. I've run several different companies, employed people, did everything by the book, was always a good girl, raised my children, never been on the dole, really goody-goody. I'd make you sick now. I was so goody-goody. And then when the whole collapse came, I lost my whole pension, my whole future, everything that I had worked my whole life for. And I'm a very responsible person, and if it was all about me and I did it, I'd be the first to put my hand up. But I honestly felt that this wasn't just me, that there was more to it than this. And especially when I saw people, who were absolutely brilliant in business, and they were falling on their knees as well. And first I only looked at the self-employed aspect of it, and then eventually the whole lot just started to come crumbling down. That there had to be something behind the whole lot of it. The banks had to know what was going on. That's their expertise, that's their area, and yet they owned to me and to others during the time that they already knew what was happening. So therefore they had to be in on the deal was kind of the concept. So I started as a maverick out on my own, and along the line then made some very good friends. A CPPC, the People's Convention, met with Diarmuid O'Kayla, eventually ran in the last election for them, just to have a voice, just to get out there. And as I always say, I don't court a failure very easily, but I did on that occasion for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the people, and that it's a people convention we want, and it's a way of running this country that's more like a business. We're a small country. We're easy to run, very easy to run. How these boys are getting it wrong is just beyond me as a businesswoman. So I suppose that's some of the background. I work as a natural therapist for the last 25, 26 years, so I'm always watching the natural world and the natural order, and I suppose that opened my mind a very long time ago to bits and pieces. And that's more or less who it is I am. I'm a mom, I'm a normal person with no legal background whatsoever.
Okay, and obviously you got involved in DebtOptions. You've seen what was going on in the country, and all these people.
I set it up in that 2 years ago I made the decision to do this, and I realised the most important thing is to educate yourself as much as possible and make the right connections along the line. And I was very lucky to do so in that I met very early on after meeting CPPC. I then met Awaken Ireland, which are amazing and a wonderful group of people. DebtOptions was actually a Facebook that we set up over 12 months ago to see could we offer people options, were there more than one option. You know, you had wonderful people like Seamus Sherlock, who was helping people to go in and renegotiate with the banks, all voluntary. And yet you had other people out there who had been in financial services who were now charging people to go in and negotiate with the banks. I mean, talk about sucking the bones of people. So you had several different options there, and you know, some people were becoming quite angry and aggressive, and they were suggesting just don't pay your mortgage at all, which of course gets people into trouble. So 2 years ago I had the idea of suing the banks for my loss. I lost my health, I lost my pension, obviously, and you know what they say, if you want to make a plan, you'll make God laugh. So the plan of my life, I'd say he's having a great laugh at, because it's gone in a completely different direction. But it's a direction I'm thrilled that it's gone in. So set this up, started to gather the right people in and around me. The Facebook then was set up with a couple of people from Awaken Ireland. It didn't really get off the ground at the time, and everything was about timing and getting the right information and pulling the right people in around us. Because if we don't have the legal expertise, then it's absolutely vital that the right expertise is pulled in around us. So I originally filed my case over 12 months ago with the view to help others if that was the option that they chose. But there was many options available to them.
Okay, before we go on, Claire, I was just getting a kind of clicky noise in the background there. Is there anything clicking on your end, you know?
No, nothing at all clicking, let me tell you.
Okay, it must be the CIA tapping the line there. They must be, they're known for their clicks. Okay. No problem. Well, that's brilliant. And obviously, you know Ben and what Ben's doing and what he's been involved in. I believe that you and Ben are obviously working together as well, the People for Economic Justice.
Well, I'll tell you where that came about is in gathering the people around me. And I've gathered quite a few. I mean, we have solicitors, we have barristers, we have journalists, we have accountants, we have Mackenzie friends, and I obviously had heard about Ben, who is just mind-blowing. So I went to him in court as I did with others, and like love the way he does things. And he, you know, he has so much expertise and so much knowledge that it was absolutely brilliant that he came on board with the other panel of people as well to help us out and give us the expertise that we actually need. Yeah, I mean, we've had Ben on a few times, and we support Ben 100% in what he's trying to do with direct democracy as well. And we try and give him as much exposure as we can. And I know at the launch party, thanks to Ben, he did compliment and mention TNS Radio and OYM as the alternative media to be helping to get the word out there, you know, because it's, obviously the mainstream media don't want to touch this a lot of the time, as you know. Oh, completely, yeah. You know, it's actually quite funny, isn't it? When you're awake, the others look at you as if you are something strange, you know, that you couldn't fit into a box. I've had people saying to me, you know, are you out of your mind? Why are you doing this? You know, can you not just be a good girl and form in every way, shape and form? But it just isn't in me, I'm afraid. Yeah, well, a good little sheeple, as people will say, and they look at you strange, don't they? They think you're mad. Much. Why don't you just follow the flock like everybody else? And especially a woman. Now, I'm sorry, lads, I'm going to get into the feminist bit here. Oh, my God, quick! But it really is a case that a woman with a mind, I mean, God forbid, you know, we're just supposed to do as we're told, even more so than what a man is. So I do find up against it a fair bit. And even the expression on some of their faces when they say, you're doing what? Why would you be doing that? Like, why would you consider doing that? And it's because it needs to be done. It's what's in front of your face. And if you do what's in front of your face, you'll never go wrong. Why do you feel, have you been approached by men and do you feel that maybe these men are just afraid of a strong woman? Well, I've, in my own personal experience, I think the men in my life would either know me as a very good friend or their worst enemy, one or the other, because I am a strong woman, and I'm very proud to be a strong woman. But it does terrify an awful lot of men, and by the nature of the balance of the sexes, I think a lot of men who pretend to be strong would find me intimidating, and would find strong women intimidating. Those who are genuinely strong are willing to share a platform any day of the week.
Of course, totally agree with you. There's plenty of room for everybody,
Absolutely.
and it should be all about working together and having the right intention. And I think that's really what it boils down to.
Very much so. And it's about balancing the male and female in ourselves as well. And there are times where it's necessary for me to tap into my male and be a lot more aggressive, and there are times that the soft skills of the feminine side of me are exactly what's required, and it's the same with everybody else.
Yeah, well,
we're just trying to get this balance right.
Of course, but we're in an ego-based, male-dominated society, really, at the moment, very male energy, and I believe the change of this energy coming in apparently is going to be more feminine, which is basically what we want, to be honest with you. I mean, from my studying and my research, that is what we need. But what I want to go through, which I think is very important, Claire, and you can explain to us the stages and the processes and what's been happening, is people have been coming to you, and obviously you've been going to the High Court. Tell us why and the process and what happens, how much money it costs, what really happens and what they're expecting from that.
Okay. I seem to have lost you there, lads. I don't know, are you still getting me?
Yeah, we're getting you. We're fine, yeah.
Okay, so I'll keep talking here. Debt options, we don't bring everybody to the High Court. The High Court isn't the answer for everybody, right? And it's not for us to say what is right for an individual. What we're doing is, if you see on our page, when you go to the Facebook page, Debt Options, you'll see the word coach written up, right? So a life coach, a confidence coach, call me what you want. I have all the qualifications to the same. But what it does is a coach gives you the opportunity to stand back in your own power. So the biggest problem with the economic climate the way it is at the moment is that people were losing all hope. Now that's very dangerous, because hope is what makes us get up in the morning. We hope tomorrow is going to be different. So if you take hope away from somebody, they've lost absolutely everything. So the idea of Debt Options is that they could phone somebody and they could have somebody help them review their options. And for some people, the High Court is an option. For others, it's not, and we help them do other things. On top of that, it's a case of, what are you looking for? What do you want? Some people want to see the end of the banking system as it currently stands, whereas there are other people who just want the opportunity to have their mortgage brought down to a fair and equitable level, considering the difference in price now to the price of their homes to the time that they bought it, and knowing that they'll never be able to pay it off within their lifetime gives them no hope. So what they want is to put it back into a perspective where they can actually pay it off and take responsibility in their own lives. But for those that we facilitate or that we help going to the High Court, the only way we do it is on the back of others. And I say we because it's not just me. Every solitary person who has already taken a case comes along and helps the others to take cases, which is all I actually did in the first place. I took mine 5 months ago, and then I showed others this possibility. The only way we can get the banks to answer questions is if we are the plaintiff, not the defendant. And the plaintiff means you to take them to court. In my case, I wanted them to pay for the loss of my life, for the ruination of my dream the way it was. So I put a figure on it. It was a different figure when we got to this particular stage and we set up 7 weeks ago. And the figure that was decided was €1 million per person for what it is they've actually done. So the people who are going to the High Court are suing the banks for €1 million per person, plus the deeds of their home, plus any other damages, on the grounds that the banks committed fraud in one way or another, that they broke their own liquidity laws, that they certainly did not have any duty of care or did not prove to have any duty of care to their clients. Remembering at all times, gents, that these are our allegations. They have yet to be proved. You are innocent until proven guilty.
Right, okay, so somebody comes up to you. Well, give us a scenario of when somebody came up to you and they went ahead and brought the case. So you can give us a real life example, no names, or else just an example in itself.
Yeah, no problem at all. Needless to say, we have 335 cases filed now, and they are from all over the country. So we would be speaking to these people on phone. We have 12 hubs around the country, and 12 people at the other side of a phone that will take a phone call, go through your options with you. If this is an option that you want, every Monday morning for the last 7 weeks, I was above in Dublin, outside the GPO, at 10 o'clock in the morning. The GPO for a reason, obviously, because it's a soft rebellion. You know, it's a feminine way of having a revolution. But I'd meet with people there. We'd have their paperwork done for them between the whole lot of us. And we'd talk through things with them, and then we'd facilitate bringing them around to the High Courts, because for most people they've never been inside the building. So several others who had already filed would come along as well. In the High Court, it's basically 3 offices. People think when they're going to the High Court that they're going to be in the very first day in front of a judge, and of course it's nothing like that. It's 3 offices that you go through. The first office is where you pay your money, which is, of course, very important that finance is paid, and the finance is €138. That's what it costs to take a case in the High Court. None of us charge anything. All of us are dead plain ordinary lay people who do this for nothing, because this is a moral issue. And if we can help people to stay in their homes any way at all, then we're going to do it, and we're going to do it in any way that we can. So €138 is paid there. Then your next office is actually a photocopying office, and I have to say the staff in the High Court are just absolutely gorgeous to us. They are so nice. They never make any issue whatsoever. In actual fact, they engage in conversation and chats, and how many do you have today, Claire? And it's lovely. It really, really is lovely. And then the third office that you go to is where you meet with the civil servant who goes through your paperwork and just makes sure that everything is in order and stamps it. And that's it. And your €138 paid, you're now in the system, and you're now paid, because unfortunately this is a game. And you're now on the board. Your next move then has to be very carefully thought out as to, because all of us are not playing the same game. All of us have our own individual cases. 335 at this moment in time. 337 actually. 2 less went in the other day. So every solitary case is completely unique and individual. So then some serve immediately on their banks. Others take a while and sit back on it and use it almost like an insurance policy that they have behind them if and when the bank becomes more aggressive to them. And then the whole fun starts. You're on the board, and then it's a case of meeting with people one-to-one. So that's what I'm at now at the moment, and there's a couple of us going around the country right now, meeting people one-to-one and seeing how we can strengthen their individual cases and listening to their story and getting their story down on paper so that it's very, very, very clear that every case is different.
Okay, so that sounds brilliant that you're there and supporting the people, and that's great. What I wanted to touch base on is they filed a complaint now, and they're going to be a plaintiff in the court.
Yes.
So when that obviously stops their mortgage there and then, I believe that they stop paying the mortgage because there's a court case pending. Is that correct?
Okay, that's not accurate. Right,
okay.
and I'm thrilled with the opportunity to get this absolutely dead clear. Nothing stops your mortgage. The banks are innocent until proven guilty. If you cannot pay what the banks are asking, it gives you an opportunity to stay in your honour. For you just not to pay means you're out of your honour. So it gives you an opportunity to write to your bank, state that you've now taken a High Court case, and that what you can pay is X, Y, or Z, until this case is heard and comes to its full fruition. And that's very, very important for people, because for a lot of people that gives them their breathing space. This is not a get out of jail free card. You know, these people are going to have to stand up in there and explain why they have taken these cases. And in the meantime, if to live, if to survive, if to stay in their own home, they can't pay the full mortgage, then they need to at least stay in their honour and express that to their bank. They're not asking permission. These people are now more in control. So they're not asking permission. They're stating that they are now paying maybe €500 a month or €700 a month or €100 a month, depending on what their means might be.
Well, funny you should say that, Claire. We're going to go over to Steve in a minute because there's a few questions coming in on the chat facility. But the meeting I was at today, I spoke to a lady who worked, she's retired now, but she worked in the merchant bank. And we start talking about finance and credit unions. And she said, oh yeah, once you have your intent to pay. And I said, do you work in the banking sector or have you worked in the banking sector? And she smiled and she said, yes. And I said, I knew you did based on that statement. And basically what I was trying to get at when I was speaking to her about this is she said the same thing as Harry from We the People. As long as you have an intent to pay something, they cannot take a judgment out on you. So if you go along to the bank and go, my mortgage is 500 but none of you for 200, and you give them the 200, whether you pay 50 quid a week or £200 a month, probably €50 a week would be better because that increases your intention to pay, then they cannot get a judgment out on you. And
as I say, I'm not a lawyer and I'm not in law, but I did spend a lot of time going in and out of court to watch what was happening before we actually moved on this. And what I heard judges asking, particularly in the circuit court, is asking of the bank's barristers, have these people made an intention to pay? And of course the bank's barrister's answer was yes, but they're only paying X, Y, and Z. And every judge said the same thing. That isn't what I asked you. I didn't ask you how much. I asked you, did they have an intention? Are they paying? And when was the last payment?
Excellent. That's good to know, Claire.
It cleans things up very much because, there's a lot of Chinese whisper on a thing like this. And people think, yeah, sure, I can just stop paying everything and that's fine. And that will only get you into trouble because the banks are innocent until proven guilty. And I know I've said that now 3 times, but I need to say it because, we are respecting the law of this country. We're doing this legally, lawfully and respectfully. And therefore, I believe with that intention that we can have nothing but success on the far side. But we will play this game very fairly.
Okay. Now, I'm going to throw a spanner in the works for a minute and be devil's advocate on this because I think it's worthwhile saying it. So let's take it that one of your cases of one of the people turn up and they get a call, they have to go to the court and the bank is there representing themselves with the barristers and stuff, and the judge says, no, I'm not accepting that, and the bank win the case. That means that the plaintiff is now liable for the court costs and the bank's costs.
Yes, absolutely. But you know what? When you have nothing, you have nothing to lose. And that's why I'm saying this is not for everybody. There are several options that we give people. This is not always the option. When people have nothing left to lose and they're really up against the wall, then this fits them perfectly. But, if you're somebody who has a lot to lose and you have a lot of equity in your home, or you have a lot of property or a lot of land or a lot of forestry or whatever, things that the banks would love to get their hands on, then this may not be for you at all.
Okay.
So it is about speaking to people and giving people as many options as possible so that they can make a really educated decision as to what they should do next.
I think that's very good that you actually sit down and go through that with them. That's very important. Right, I'm going to hand over to Steve. Steve, there's a few questions there in the chat facility, so...
Well, there's a couple of questions, but I think some of them have been answered as well, but I'll read them out. But before I do that, if the bank... remember during the week, Alan, you were saying to me that the bank, and I think I've seen it on... could have been on the web as well, that they're trying to change the law now... so they can it'll be easier for them to actually get in there and repossess homes.
That's right, yeah.
So I mean, let's say for argument's sake, if one of Claire's cases actually won, and let's say the bank had to pay €1 million, and the mortgage was written off, all it would take, when you think about it, if that happened once, it would set a precedent, but the law being, and the banks, the way they kind of run things and rule things at the moment, could they not just put pressure on the government again and say, listen, this is another one of those loopholes, we want you to kind of change that real quick?
But this is what Marcus said to us in the interview. He said when he was going to court, they would make one or two wins, and when they realised that this could set a precedent, they changed the law, or changed the system in a way so that wouldn't happen. So that's the thing that you kind of have to be careful of. Now, I know Claire said that each case is different, but, you know, should a case win and somebody wins £1 million off the bank, you can probably guarantee, and if Lafoy has anything to do with it in the High Court, you can probably guarantee, Claire, that loophole, if you want to call it that, for want of a better name, is going to be shut down.
Isn't this the beauty of where Open Your Mind is at, and TNS is at, and Ben Gilroy is at, and CPPC, and all of these wonderful movements around the country? Because we're not doing anything in isolation. All of us are connected right now. All of us are moving towards a new world, a new way of doing things. And hopefully by the time these cases would come into court, we will have a new government in Ireland, a much more equitable, a much fairer, a much more balanced government in this country. Because by the time these cases come to court, it could take several years. Now, on top of that, it isn't even that you only need to win one case. You only need to prove fraud once to close the bank.
That's a good point. Yeah, that is a good point.
Enough.
Yeah.
Once and once only. We have 335 options at this moment in time on 14 different banks. Now, the wonderful thing about this system, if you like, is that there are 335 people in your legal team. There is amazing wisdom out there. You know, none of us are solicitors or barristers, but people have studied different aspects of this over long periods of time. And what we've done is put everybody, if there is any generalization, it's that everybody is in everybody else's case. Everybody is helping everybody else. Their case might be unique and individual, but you have the expertise of the 335, plus the team of people that we put behind that are experts. And, you know, you never know what experts might be listening in here this evening. If you're a journalist, if you are an economist, if you're a solicitor, if you're a barrister, if you're a law agent, if you're a nice, quiet Mackenzie friend that has been working for a while in Ireland, and you'd like to come in behind us, we're always looking for more support. You know, there's people want out front, people want behind. You can have any position you like. We're still wide open for all the help we can possibly get. And it is about all of us working together towards something. So whereas we're working on the legal system, you've and lots of others working on the political system, and hopefully we'll all converge eventually down the line.
Well, that'd be excellent, and obviously as part of the media, as far as we're concerned, we are more than happy to get the message out there to people, to let them know what's going on, and I'm sure TNS and all the other internet radio stations out there will actually do the same thing, because Claire, one of the things that was said to us from a Sinn Féin councillor, when I said that OYM was involved in the alternative media, he actually turned around and said, "Oh, you mean the new media?"
Yeah, you see, this is very true. All over the world now, the internet has opened our minds in every sense, and opened our opportunity to knowledge. And now I know more and more and more people who only watch and listen to what's going on online, rather than mainstream, which is only a form of hypnosis, a subliminal hypnosis.
Which is why they're now trying to, again, censor the internet.
Yeah. Exactly.
Which is one of the things that I just touched base on when we were talking in Mullingar about the internet too. And they want to be able to control that and have a subscription-only service like Sky TV. But to be honest with you, I think the cat's out of the bag, and the information. And I was actually on a radio show there last week, and one of the chaps from, I believe TNS, Bitch and Bob, if he's listening in now tonight, mentioned, you know, we as kind of a bunch of techies talking about things, we actually come across a solution which Bitch and Bob was talking about having our own internet service, a wireless internet service on a mesh system. Now, I don't want to get down technical, but there are other facilities and ways that we can do it if they go and do that with the internet. So there are ways of getting around it, but I'm going to go back over to Steve, because there's a few more questions there that Steve has.
Excellent.
Yeah, Claire, one from Andy. Andy was just wondering, when is the next batch of claims going into court?
Okay, up to now, what we did is we filed first, and then we worked on statements of claim and all the rest of it. People got to work on their statements of claim afterwards. What we're doing now is slightly different. We're twisting this around. So for the month of January, if you're interested in, number one, discussing your options. Don't assume this is your only option. But number one, if you're interested in discussing your options, get on to one of the lads, one of the 12 of us. All the numbers are in the About section of Facebook. Our web page will go live tomorrow, so woo! We're here at the launch of the web page at long last. And I've got to thank the lads there who did that, because they got a web page up in 2 weeks for me instead of 6 months, so they're absolutely amazing. But it's important to discuss your options first. Don't assume this is it. Once you've got to a place that you think this is your road and this is what you'd like to do, and whichever one of the hubs you're speaking to will help you to get your statement to claim and get your head around why you're suing. Get your head around all of that first. And we have a big information day coming up on the 26th of January again, where we have several of our backroom people, if you like, our professionals, who are going to come along and help people and educate people. And Ben will be there, as he was on the last information day. Absolutely fantastic, with good knowledge and good wisdom. We had over 100 people in Thurles 2 weeks ago. We have that lined up again for the end of January, and hopefully by then we will be back up filing again.
So it's a busy time ahead for you, Claire. Anyway,
it never stops, to be honest with you. It is 24 hours a day. We launched 7 weeks ago, and my phone doesn't stop. 7 o'clock in the morning is no problem, and 12 o'clock at night it's still going strong. Plus the internet, plus the web page, plus the whole lot of it, plus meeting people face to face. And I'm not the only one. There's quite a few of us doing this now. But the other option is don't do it, and that isn't an option. It's now. The time is now. It's right to start looking at our options and stop allowing the banks to believe that they're the only ones who are in control here and the only ones who've got options.
Right, so if people were to send you down some coffee, you can tell us what brand you're using, because it's obviously keeping you up all night.
Coffee will come in awful handy, and regularly does. At one stage the other day, I was in Tipperary. I was doing a clinic one-to-one with 45 people on a one-to-one basis, and when I came back to my phone, 179 messages, not only missed calls but messages left. It's unreal what people are suffering out there. You could write a book on the suffering that people are going through. It's horrific, absolutely horrific. Yeah. And then you add to that the bullying, and you add to that their sense of no hope. And we discussed this before we went on air this evening, the amount of people taking their own lives, and the statistics that are out there are only a fraction of what's really going on. And that's because they feel they have no hope. If we give people nothing else, we give them an opportunity to see that there is always hope. And for the little bit of levity, lads, I always say, it ain't no fat lady sings, and I won't be singing for a long time yet.
Yeah. Claire, we've got 2 comments here as well, and a question. I'm just going to read them out as they come in. Andy says, New Economic Rights Alliance, or New Era, are doing something similar to DebtOptions in South Africa. There are thousands of people there suing the banks. Securitization is worth 30 million rand a month in South Africa alone. And then Dom follows that on saying, securitization is not illegal in Ireland, but we do have the right to ask our lenders for details on that. But they won't give it unless we take them to court. Obviously, that's where the DebtOptions has come in, and maybe it's joined. DebtOptions is obviously the missing link. And then Bluebell wants to know, can you ask Claire what kind? I think I already know the answer to this, I think. But can you ask Claire what kind of coverage is she getting at the moment from mainstream media?
Okay. Number one, I'll do the South African one, and the comment is excellent. Is yes, securitisation. South Africa won about 5-6 weeks ago 1,000 cases on the grounds of securitisation. Following up on New Zealand won quite a few cases again on securitisation. We can't use that as precedent in this country because, as you say, it's not necessarily illegal here. But there are questions to be answered. And I've got to be careful at all times that all these cases are sub judice at the moment. They're all in process. So we've got to be very careful what we say. But it is fair to say that there are lots of questions that need to be answered by the banks. That we've never had an opportunity, and the only forum, the only way you have a right of discovery and you have a right to get answers to your questions is by being the plaintiff, which is why I had the intention of doing this day one and putting them in that position. So that's that. The mainstream media, let's talk about them for a second. There are some I am so proud of, you've got absolutely no idea. The day that we were coming to Dublin, on the 15th of October, we literally created history when 120 of us came initially to file our cases in the High Court, 120 lay litigants, walking through the gates of the High Court together for the very first time. And I got on to every one of the mainstream media to see who would cover it. And I wanted to see for myself. I'm one of these women that I give everyone the benefit of the doubt until they prove otherwise. Not one of them came back, except a radio station in Cork called 103 FM in North and East Cork. They're based in Mallow. Absolutely wonderful. Fair dues to them. Came on, did an interview live from the High Court, could see exactly where we were from. We were number one on the first item on the 1 o'clock news, and we were gone by 2. Finished. Nowhere to be seen by 2 o'clock. Now, you and I both know that's not how media works. You might come down the rankings as the news goes on every hour, but you don't just disappear. So obviously we did upset somebody with what it was we were saying. As well as that, my great respect to Justine McCarthy of the Sunday Times, who phoned me about 2 or 3 weeks later and did a piece, a fabulous piece. She gave us banner headline space across her page on what we were doing, and that's the Irish Fight Back. And again, Cork Independent newspaper here in Cork has been magnificent and has given us front page again, as well as a follow-up piece on the inside. They're the only 3 mainstream at this moment in time. Others have come to me. You know, the Evening Echo has come and done an interview. You know, some of the radio stations have done interviews, but they've never put them out. They have done the interview, but they've never actually put them out on air. And of course, there are others then that we were offered, but only if they could be pre-recorded, and then, of course, the legal departments go through and all the rest of it. We're doing nothing illegal. We're not militant in any way, shape or form. So that kind of censorship I'd never agree to.
Well, you'd have to actually agree to live, to be honest with you, because we know that some of the radio stations start editing and you start taking stuff out. And in editing, as you know, Claire, you can make people say things that, you know, or talk about things that wouldn't exactly be the flow of the conversation. I think Sovereign Independent were actually caught out with that. They did a pre-record with, was it Radio Nova or something?
It was the newly formed Radio Nova, yeah. They done an interview for that, and they wouldn't let them on live. It was pre-recorded, and then when it was actually played, it was butchered to bits.
And it made them look like just a whole pack of conspiracy theorists, didn't it?
A bunch of conspiracy theorists, hippies or something. Yeah. Something silly.
Yeah. That's not acceptable. Through my own businesses in life, I've done an awful lot of media. I've worked on radio, I've worked on television, I've worked on film, so I understand how a lot of this works. And I'd never allow myself to be censored to that degree. There is no part of me is, as I say, aggressive or militant or whatever. I'm legal, lawful and respectful, and I expect to be treated that way. So somebody not giving me a live slot, I just wouldn't accept it, and I don't think people should accept it, to be quite honest with you, because it does. It allows them to censor. And I've seen television work and I've seen radio work that it comes across after editing like it was said in a completely different context, words are very, very powerful. Remember, the Bible starts with, in the beginning there was the Word, and the Word is God. So words are highly, highly powerful things. And it's not something that you should ever allow anybody power over your words. Your words are unique, personal and individual to you. And that's the way that it should actually be kept, I believe.
Yeah,
so I'll only be doing the live, lads. So thank you for the offer.
That's okay, no problem. We're always going out live anyway, so there's no worries there. Claire, what do you think of, just to get your own opinion or your belief, what is your opinion on the current government? What do you think of them? What do you think of them, going against their mandates and just doing a 360 and just destroying the country for the sake of Europe? I mean, Enda Kenny got European Man of the European Man of the Year award. He got that award, and then the EU, got a Nobel Peace Prize as well. But I know there's another Labour minister actually jumping ship. So that's 5 Labour TDs jumped ship at the moment. And Gilmore is not, they're not happy with Gilmore at the moment. And obviously, Kenny. So what's your take on it? What do you think, is going on with them? Why do you think they're actually abusing the Irish people?
One of the reasons why I ran for politics and why I ran for election the last time round, as I said, my greatest fear would have been that I'd have succeeded, right, is I wanted an opportunity just to speak. And just to speak for ordinary lay people. This government is no different to lots of previous governments. Right? As soon as they get in, they forget who got them there. Our Constitution is a living document. Unfortunately, and I may not be popular for this, gents, but I'm going to say it. Unfortunately, a lot of Irish people are very happy to give their power away. And, it's a case of I'll vote in my favourite party and I let them do the thinking for me. And I leave them do what they believe is best for me. And that's the kind of politics that has got us into the stew that we're currently in. So to me it really didn't matter who was the guy of the day. It is the system of politics that is 110% wrong. The fact that you don't have speaking rights unless you've got so many members of a party. The fact that you have a party system at all, where every time you've got one person right, then you have to have somebody else wrong. The whole layout of politics as it stood, all the way back along, right the way through, it has been wrong. It has allowed people, gives their power away. What we're now talking about, going into a whole new world of politics, and the reason why I ran when I did was for this new way, which would be that the people would empower themselves again, would stand into the power that is theirs. A constitution that is living allows them to stand into it. And when you read the preamble of the constitution, it is the people make up Ireland. The people are what it's all about. But those people have to be active. They've got to get in there. So I would never give my power to somebody else. I would never suggest that somebody should decide for me what is right or wrong. The way politics should work is they are answerable to me because I am part of what makes Ireland. So to bring out the individual personalities at this moment in time, if you create an energy, you will bring about all the characteristics and all the personalities that will feed off that energy. So if you bring in an energy that allows people give away their power and gives a human being way too much power, right? But by default, then their characteristics and their personalities will actually buy into that. That's why it's a complete change of system is what we need this time round. Create a new energy and it works like a magnet and then it draws the right people to it. I remember the last time for the general election, one of the comments on local radio here in Cork on 96 FM was decent people won't run for politics because politics is corrupt. But it's the system that allows corrupt and it's the people that create the system. So as people, we need to stand in our own power, 100% in our own power, and take back every solitary decision back into our own hands at grassroots level and make our politicians follow our mandate and only our mandate.
And I agree with you. I mean, we do need government, but a government should be there as like an administration department running the country and the infrastructure, not bringing in laws to take our freedoms away.
No politician has a right to make a decision on behalf of anybody. He is there to get the mandate from the people who voted him in. I've never seen any of them come back and ask us any questions. I've said this a few times in the past. I spent last Christmas, this time of the year, over in a place in India called Auroville, Auroville, which is the centre of human unity on the planet at this moment in time, not by name but by intention. It's a part of the planet owned by the whole world, where they want to live without politics, without religion and without money. They want a pure existence. They want to live the way man was supposed to live, all of his humanity, right, rather than working as slaves towards making money or whatever. Now, it's a highly successful area, and I wanted to see how the administration of that ran, because of course there is an administration. It's not without structure, but it is without politics, and it is amazing. It's mind-blowing. I spent 6 weeks over there with one or two other people, just observing and, visiting it, seeing it work. And it's absolutely amazing that there is somewhere on the planet holding this aspiration, number one, and this intention. But number two, 35 years in existence with people from all over the world. So there is a living example there proving that this can work. And that's very inspiring.
Excellent. And we need to go down that line. Steve?
Yeah, Claire, just backtracking a little bit with what you're doing now with DebtOptions and the whole court procedure. One of the comments in from Engelbert, he says, I'm just wondering, how successful do you reckon it will actually be? Based on this comment from Engelbert, he says, don't we have the brother of the governor of the central bank operating as master of the High Court? He refers to Patrick and Edmund Honohan. So, I mean, if they're kind of involved, one in the central bank and one in the High Court, do you think that will have any...
to be awfully honest, so far, for different cases going in and out, and Ben will be able to be better on this one, he would actually say the master is an extremely fair man and has always given fair hearing, and on more than one occasion has given Ben the day, and has given Ben, when Ben has brought up questions on and things like that, he's been extremely receptive. And this is very important. We can't blacken everybody with the one brush.
Yeah. Right?
There are very, very good people out there who, the law is about interpretation. The law is quite fluid. Now, if for 50 or 60 years they've only been given one aspect to the law, then they have no choice but to accept that. Then you've got people like us coming in who are bringing in, because we're not in the boys' club, because we don't have a code of ethics attached to them, we have the opportunity to ask other questions that haven't been asked before. And I firmly believe in the goodness in everybody. And therefore I believe in the goodness in Master Honan and all the rest of it, that they will do what's right when they're given that opportunity. I have no experience otherwise at this moment in time. As far as I know, and I haven't met the gentleman yet, but he has played very, very, very fair every step along the line. And I think Ben would certainly say that of them. And other Mackenzie friends that I know as well, other people who stand for people in court and help them and facilitate them, they would always say the master is a fair man to go against.
Okay. And Lord Vapor asks, could Peter Sutherland also have an influence on Irish politics, as he is on the steering committee of the Bilderberg Group?
Now, you see, this is interesting because I'm a great woman for keeping my energy where I can do something about it, right? And the politics is not my passion, right? The law is my passion. The politics is something that you can't ignore. So it is happening. It's part of our life. It's part of our everyday lives. And I keep an eye to it, but I don't engulf myself in it. And when you get into the whole Bilderberg and all the rest of it, I'm lost. I'm at sea. I can't go there because I don't have enough expertise to be able to discuss that. And I won't allow my energy be dissipated, if you like, by you can't be everything. You can't have it all. You can't be, I might have a knowledge of chemtrails, but it's not in depth. I might have a knowledge of the fluoride, but it's not in depth. Right? It's exactly the same with the politics. I have a knowledge and a very good knowledge of what's going on out there, but it's not in depth or fine-tuned enough to have an opinion or to share an opinion on a station like this. So I'm going to pass on that one if that's fair enough.
I think fair enough. I think that's Alan always says that actually shows your intelligence.
Yeah, because the fact that you turn around and say, well, I don't know enough about it, so I can't comment. That means you're comfortable with your own intelligence.
Absolutely.
That you're happy with.
Absolutely, and I call it my energy because there is so much going on, and I understand this. For a layperson who's waking up for the first time and listening to stations like yours, like TNS and all the rest of it, I've had pals who said, Jesus, if all that's going on, like, is life worth living? The answer is yes, 100%. You only deal with what's in front of your face. You don't have to deal with it all. You don't have to be out there planning and taking it all on board, because if you become aware of that amount of negativity, it can actually take away your energy and it can destroy you. Whereas I feed my energy by engaging where my passion is. And that's what I encourage everybody to do. Not all of us need to know it all. We just need to know what's in front of our face and be as good as we can on that. And then we're all cells in the one body. All of those cells come together, they all light up at the same time, and we create a better world between us all.
I totally agree with you.
That's what you say. You say pick your battles.
I do say that. I say to people, pick your battles. And I also said, when we did this seminar down in Waterford, people don't need to know the bigger picture. You don't need to know how electricity works to use the hairdryer. All you need to know is, I'm having a problem with my mortgage, how can I deal with it? They don't need to know. They don't need to know about the Bilderberg Group or the New World Order, the Illuminati or chemtrails. They don't need that because it's not in their life. It's not, I'm not saying it's not affecting them, but it's not in their surroundings. What's in what's around them at the moment.
It's affecting them, but if everybody follows their passion, you'll have somebody passionate for that who will follow through with that magnificently, right? If we all follow our passion, we'll get to exactly where we need to be. Remember, at the end of all of this, there is no one of us, there is no one human being is going to fix or correct all of this. But if all of us do our own little part and play our own small little role, eventually all of that comes together.
Definitely. Now, I have a question for you, Claire. We're watching the time here, but I'll have to throw this in. Let's fast forward when the first case comes up in front of the actual court. Do you have the information ready to actually bring into court to show the banks were trading insolvent or they were in financial, obviously having financial problems when they were doing what they were doing? I mean, they're still doing it now, but they were in, I believe, not liquidation. They were trading insolvent.
Yes, their own liquidity laws, and that would be one of the allegations. Do we have the information? Several answers to this, right? And the first answer would be that every solitary day there is information coming out. Every day now. The cracks are showing more and more. The facts that we've put in for High Court cases is buying time. And for every year that these cases go on, we're allowing the opportunity for more and more and more information to come forward. This was a time game. There was a level of information we needed before we would ask people to go ahead and do this, right? So that we had to have a belief that we could win if and when it came to it, and that we're wide open to the new information that is coming out on a daily basis. And it is. It's every one of our newspapers every day is giving us another little piece of the puzzle. Now, if we're out there and we're in litigation and the case has been filed and it could take several years, then all of that time is allowing even more information to come forward. Today, the half a page of The Independent, fronted by the People for Economic Justice, funded to a large extent by DebtOptions, the question there is for people to come forward, whistleblowers to come forward, ordinary people who got information, come forward, join the dots, allow your information join the rest of the information. So by the time it gets to court, we'll have even more than what we have now. If we were to go in the morning with what we have now, do we have enough? That's for a judge to decide.
Obviously, and what we need whistleblowers as well to come forward and pass on any information they have, which will obviously help with this.
We need ordinary people, not some people don't see themselves as whistleblowers, but they knew, they may have been working in a bank, they may have been working in a financial service, and they knew the thing was iffy. The thing stank to high heaven, and they knew it, but they may not see themselves as whistleblowers. What we'd say to you is, if you've got any information at all, if you've worked within the services, if there's been anything about your mortgage or your financial dealings that have been iffy, don't assume that it's worthless. There is nothing worthless right now. Get in contact with People for Economic Justice. Get yourself the Sunday Independent and fill in that questionnaire and allow your information to be added into the pot. And I'm quite sure very decent people are where the answers are. People who just know in the back of their minds that there's something niggling, something not right, who could be the very person who's got the key to all of this.
And it could be a part of the jigsaw. Steve?
Yeah, Claire, there's a lot of information kind of flying around here on the chat box. One person who has been putting up some information is Andy, and he has a question, maybe it's kind of a question for you. They're talking about securitisation, and he said, to the best of my knowledge, it's when the loan and mortgage are split, it becomes illegal. Maybe Claire can clarify that the bondholder has bought the loan while the bank hold the mortgage. The loan is then sold in multiples, splitting into different folios every time. Now,
again, I'm going to use my sub judice here, right? Because there's a lot of information around securitisation. I mean, Marcus wrote very, very well how the banks are screwing us. He explained an awful lot of it. Darrell O'Dea explained more of it in a prior book to that, which was The Blank of Ireland. And there are many others out there, right? The question is here, were all of their own rules followed to the letter of the law, in every sense, when they were doing this? I'm going to use sub judice because if I get into all of that, I could actually be using information that ultimately we will want to use in court. So if it's okay to say that there's a lot on securitisation, it would be part of what we're discussing, but it is only one part of what we're discussing, and I would encourage people to keep questioning more about securitisation and keep looking at it. But there are several other areas as well worth looking at.
No, that's a fair comment.
Okay, I thought you were going to carry on there, Steve. No, that's a fair comment. I think, I think the banks have broke a number of laws, not just securitisation, but trading insolvency as well. That's well, they're insolvent, and a lot of other little things that have gone on. So I do think there's a number of issues and a number of ways that you can actually bring these cases into the bank. And of course, one of the things that Andy said here in the chat facility was, and I remember reading about it, where a chap in South Africa, there was a case where the bank would go on to take his house, and the guy said, well, hang on a minute, before, I'm happy to write the cheque out here for the outstanding amount, but can the bank please prove that they owned the property? And yes. Because they had securitised it, they had no paperwork to actually prove that they owned the property. So the case was thrown out of court.
Yeah, which is very interesting. The two Irish banks in the last couple of months have bought back their financial vehicles so as to buy back the very bonds that they had originally sold, which will tell you that there must have been something in that, and they haven't done this without seriously thinking about it well in advance. So one would question, was South Africa well timed in getting and winning on securitisation, and has it now allowed the banks to tie up a couple of loose ends and buy things back, which might just make things more difficult for Ireland?
Well, yeah, I mean, that could be the problem. If they buy the bonds back, it could be difficult, but it still goes down to the multiple issues that they were trading insolvent. I mean...
Well, you see, this is the wonderful part of it, is that we have multiple issues. And as I've said already, you only have to prove fraud once to close a bank. Once.
Exactly.
Right? So if we go on multiple issues, we have a much, much better chance than just putting all of our attention on securitisation alone.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think we won't go down to, because obviously that's information that you need to keep privy to yourself, so we won't go into any detail with that. So, we're coming near to we're going to be winding things up in a minute there, Claire, but it's brilliant to see. I mean, I have seen in the last few years the amount of people beginning to wake up and ask questions. Maybe they had to wake up because of the financial issues they had, and they had to realise what was going on. We know that I don't know when is the next general election? Is it 2014, is it?
As far as I know, it's 14,
2 years' time. Yeah.
2 years' time.
That is, of course, if it gets that far.
Yeah.
Well, exactly.
Somebody can bring the government down in the morning if they choose to do so.
Well,
when you've got people like the four from the Labour Party who are now, backing out and leaving. So, a lack of faith in the government could actually come about at any time.
Yeah, and we have to be promoting. I mean, DDI, we know Ben, who's been on the show, and he's doing a great job, and everybody involved with DDI, and yourself, and everybody's pushing to get something sorted. And, Ben is quite rightly saying, look, we don't have all the answers, but if you're on the Titanic and the ship pulls up and you have a chance of surviving, jump on that one. Don't start arranging the deck chairs because it's not going to work. We have to get...
like a people's convention, people have got to get involved here. They are the country. They are the essence of it all. They've got to wake up and they've got to realise that they are sovereign people, while they still are, while we still have a living document there. And unless people wake up themselves and get active in their own lives, then, no answers. I'm mad about Ben. I love Ben. Wouldn't have a negative word said against him. But it's not about giving our power away to one person again. It's being the power behind one person, which is very, very different.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Ben himself will turn around and say that he doesn't like politics, he's not into it. But, and quite rightly is saying, but everything is politics. Whether you want a straight banana or, whatever, everything boils down to politics. So we have to, even if you hate politicians, and the way things are at the moment, everybody is. I mean, I would hate to be a politician knocking on somebody's door, because the amount of abuse they probably get off people would be phenomenal. But there's still sheeple out there who will vote Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael because their grandfather did it, and he helped us, fix the holes in the road, so I'll have to vote for him. They just don't realise it.
And also the other way around, we're a great nation for tarring everyone with the same brush. There are, and there must be people in Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, Labour, all the rest of these political parties. Of course there are decent people. There are decent people everywhere. It's the system that's wrong, not the people.
Yeah, definitely. But when you say the system's wrong, the system is wrong. But, there are still people that are arrogant and they are ego-based and they're self-serving. There are politicians in there that are like that. I'm not saying they're all like that, but there are politicians in there who just have self-interest and don't really give a care about the people. So they're the people that I'm concerned about as well. Because even if you have good people going in, like George... What's his name?
Bush?
No.
Lee.
George Lee going into Fine Gael, wasn't it? And he tried to bring in a few bills and what have you. And he realised that, hang on, this is institutionalised. And you have the whip system. And no matter what you do, you have to toe the rope. Or don't do what you're told, then you're out. Or there's a scandal. That can't work. You can't have a system like that.
I was asked previously a couple of years ago to run for politics for a particular party, and I started to laugh and I said, I wouldn't even walk for you, not mind running for you. I said, can you imagine me under a whip, right? Can you imagine anyone telling me how to think? The wonderful thing, and God bless him, it was my father gave it to me, and from a very early age he encouraged me to think for myself in every way, shape and form, and to never allow, even if I thought outside the box, even if I thought differently, never to allow that to stop me in any way. And he gave me the greatest gift, because he gave me the gift of being able to move and change with life as life changes. When you think only one way, then you get stuck when that way is no longer possible. Life is forever changing, and if you can change with it, if you're adaptable, if your mind is fluid and can work with it, then you can be imaginative in any situation. Therefore, you can always come out with a solution. Why? Because there has never been a problem created, but there is a solution to match it.
And you said the magic word there, Claire, and we're always saying it on OYM. If you have a fluid belief system, you will change, you'll go with the changes, because you will, what you know today might change what you find out next week. And if that's fluid, if your belief system is fluid, you won't have to defend it, you'll just go with the flow.
Exactly. And you'll be able to function within that new system, because imagination is stronger than reality. So I suppose, we are coming up towards the end of my time with you. And if I'm to encourage people to do anything, right, I facilitate for open space forums for Awaken Ireland down here in Cork. And the other night, a very serious time in history is where we're coming to. And the other night I made everyone sit down and write their wish list. Why? Because imagination is highly, highly important. If you can imagine something, you can make it happen. So this Christmas, I encourage people to write their wish list for Ireland. Stop giving the energy to what isn't working. Stop spending the time giving out on what's happening. Stop giving the energy to think that you are stagnated and can do nothing. You always have options. Close your eyes for 2 minutes and imagine the way you would like this country to be. Imagine it rich in every sense, as it is, because it is a very wealthy country. Imagine that wealth working for its people in all the right way, with the people that are active in their own country and in their own politics, and all owning safely and securely their own little part of this country, where they choose to raise their children and where they choose to raise their families. Use that imagination, because that creates an energy.
Exactly.
And that energy works like a magnet, and everything comes to it. If the Wright brothers hadn't imagined an aeroplane, we wouldn't be flying halfway across the world now. So it has never, ever, ever been proven to fail. As long as you can imagine it, you can create it. So this Christmas, why not imagine our perfect Ireland the way we want it to be?
Exactly. I think I have to second you on that. Well, Claire, listen, it's been fantastic. Thanks for coming on. You gave us great information there. Much appreciated. OYM is there as a platform if you do want to come on and just give us an update on what's going on. I'm sure we'll have you on again. Just, giving us an update after Christmas maybe, just to let us know what's happening. I'm going to pass you over to Steve, and Steve will go through the run-through for you for contact details and stuff like that.
Great. Thank you so much, Alan, and a very happy Christmas to you and yours.
And you too, Claire.
I was just going to say, the Wright brothers, if they hadn't have had that visualisation, we wouldn't be travelling around by plane. We also wouldn't have bloody chemtrails.
And no, we don't do the negative.
No, we don't.
I'm sorry, I'm positively focused only. Look at the world that was opened by them. Do you know what I mean? The whole world that we can go and visit so easily. But it's about the power of the imagination. Never underestimate the natural law and the natural skills, because they are what will take us the full way. There has always been a world, and there will be long after.
I totally agree. I absolutely 100% agree. I mean, some of the things you were just saying there reminded me of bits and pieces from that video that was floating about there a while ago. The Secret. I mean, the power of attraction, the law of attraction. Some people scoffed at that. I mean, I know people who I've given copies of the DVD to them, people who were kind of going through difficult times, and I said, here, just watch that with an open mind. And, some people come back to me and said, wow, that's just mind-blowing. It's amazing stuff. It's great information. Other people, watched half of it and gave it back to me and said, that's a crock of you-know-what. And I says, well...
But you see, the bottom line is you can't just imagine it. You got to then go out and get the nuts and bolts and start trying it. But to imagine it first creates the magnet. It creates the energy. But then the action is absolutely vital. And of course, as with everything, act as if it's already there.
Yeah,
exactly.
If you have a roof over your head this Christmas, if you're surrounded by family and friends, if you have enough food on your table, just do the blessings. Absolutely put it out there. And if you can put a spare seat or two at your table, make sure that somebody who isn't as well off is sitting at your table as well and sharing in your peace and in your happiness.
That's a very nice thing, actually. That's lovely. That is, isn't it?
Well, we're back to community, lads. This is what it's about. You know, there is enough to go around. It may not be in every house, but there is enough to go around. So if we open our doors, everybody will be sorted this Christmas.
Okay. On that note, Claire, can you just maybe throw us out the web address, the Facebook address, and how people can contact you, or maybe even just contact you to lend a hand, or whatever.
No problem. Okay. Facebook is DebtOptions, all one word, and that's fairly active and has been active for the last 7 weeks. So you'll get lots of info there, you'll get lots of videos there, you'll get videos of some of the people who've already taken cases, you'll get a great video by one of our guys here in Cork, Barry, again, very much on the lines of what you were talking about earlier, so all well worth watching. www.DebtOptionsIreland will go live hopefully tomorrow, all going well, and that's our web page. And again, there'll be videos there, there'll be information there, and there'll be contact details there. And then on both that page and on the Facebook page, under the About section, you will find the 12 to 13 numbers of hubs around the country where you can phone somebody and talk through your options, or you can phone me 0872 565 728.
Fantastic. That's brilliant, Claire. Just stay with us there for a minute, Claire. We'll just go to a musical break. We'll be back after this.
This is Open Your Mind Radio on OYMIreland.com, CNSradio.ring.com and ICRadioNetwork.com.
Hello, and we're back. That was Europe, a very kind of brief, the final countdown, quite appropriate for next week, being the 21st. Okay, we have Timmy O'Brien on the phone with us, and for people who aren't aware, there was a bit of trouble with the Friends First Bank trying to reclaim some equipment. And Timmy went in with a few people, I believe, and he kind of went into the offices and stayed in there for a few days. But we want to get a bit more detail, so I just want to bring Timmy in there. Good evening, Timmy. How are you doing?
Not too bad. How are you?
Not too bad. Timmy, do you want to tell us really what happened regarding Friends First? Because, you know, obviously a lot of people will have their, you know, ideas, but we'd rather get it straight from the horse's mouth, if you don't mind me making that statement.
I wouldn't be as straight as the horse's mouth as other people, because I was there, but I was in the process that came after that, above in the bank in Friends First.
Okay.
So
tell us what happened, Timmy.
What happened was that there was and down there a farmer, he fell into a bit of difficulties, fell into a rail. He was trying to negotiate with Friends First, and they sent the repossession order on him, and they tried to repossess the tractor, but in the repossession, the farmer held the tractor leaving, and there was problems. So when they got to the tractor, but I don't want to talk too much about what happened, but what happened was that the farmer and his son and the neighbour got a horrific beating during it, and there's criminal charges coming up over that, and there's a criminal investigation on it.
Who beat him, Timmy?
It was the boys who were supposed to be doing the repossession on behalf of the bank.
Well, so they were bailiffs or something, were they?
They were bailiffs, or whatever they are. They were hired by the bank anyway, and they were told to go out and collect this tractor at any cost.
Right, okay, yeah.
Yeah, which, like, there was right and wrong. And the way they went about it was all wrong. They went in the middle of the night and tried to repossess us in the cover of darkness. We are at the moment looking for all these financial institutions to stop doing that, to do it in business stores and to do it legally. They had no Garda warrant or anything with them, and they had no court order. They supposedly had papers that nobody else.
That's incredible.
They had equipment inside in their car that would break into the central bank in Dublin. They had bolt cutters. They had keys for every vehicle under the sun. They had gas oxyacetylene set in behind the seat of a Volkswagen Golf car, which wouldn't be very safe to have that mixture appears to be highly explosive, all behind the seat of a car, and they're trying to, they could cut their way into anything. Nobody is allowed cut and break blocks under the name of any bank or any institution to get their hands on equipment.
Well, I remember reading a story of a lady who was actually, the police turned up to arrest her on their warrant, but they did it at 3 o'clock in the morning, and apparently the law says that they should be only doing it up to 12 o'clock at night and from 7 o'clock onwards in the morning. They shouldn't be doing it during the night. So what they were doing is completely wrong.
Yeah, well, 8 o'clock to 6 o'clock is business hours, as far as I know. And that's something like that should be carried out.
So
But that should be outside business hours. But if it's between 6 o'clock and 12 o'clock at night, there is no one to be carrying on them things even at that time under the cover of darkness.
okay, so on somebody had broken ribs or something.
What?
We got a bit of an echo there.
Yeah, hello?
Yeah, can you hear us?
I can hear you now again, yeah?
Yeah, that's great. We hear that somebody got hurt with broken ribs.
Yes, there was a young fella and he was treated in hospital for cracked ribs.
Okay, and
his father was treated for a blow to the head that he got.
that's terrible.
That's terrible, and that needs to stop. Look, everybody knows right and wrong, and it's wrong to do that.
Totally.
Right? It might be. It's all in the name of banks and financial institutions trying to recapitalize themselves because they did reckless lending and other things during good times. But when the good times stopped, they just thought they could put their hand out and collect money even before it was due to be backed up.
And you went down to Friends First to the office and did a sit-in.
I'm involved in an association, Farm Contractors of Ireland. I'm the national chairman of that. And I was invited in to listen and to sit into the meeting to see what was happening. And with what I heard going on, I was horrified. The people in the meeting with me were looking for a letter of comfort for the family that they would not be terrorized by these people anymore and that they would be left alone until after criminal investigations had finished. And when I was there, I said, this cannot go on for any other family in the country. We also need a letter stating that you will work within the law and work within business hours and not hire unsuitable people to carry out these requisitions, to hire people who were guard the vetted and who were, proper people for the job.
Of course, yeah.
Not to be hiring thugs. We cannot stop the banks or stop anyone in doing their business. But please do the business right.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. But there's been loads of cases of this going on. Maybe not violent, but definitely turning up with the wrong paperwork and expecting to evict people.
They cannot break the proper pay and take things in the name of banks.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Once they seem to get their hands on the equipment, it doesn't matter how they got it. Once they get it away, and it don't matter what the case is over, the guards will wash their hands of it, say it as a civil matter. These days there will be somebody killed in this action. Somebody will wake up some night in the middle of the night and they're off a shot, or somebody will confront these people, which will worse.
Yeah.
And be left for dead in their own yards or down the road.
Yeah. It will probably come to that. And were the police there, Timmy?
No savvy at all. They will just leave you for dead and they will take off with your equipment. And I don't think any financial situation is worth that.
No. And were the police there, Timmy, when that happened?
The Gardaí came afterwards. And I think the Gardaí said that they couldn't arrest them boys because they were only doing their job. But in the morning, right, if you owe me money, I sent 2 or 3 people selected of you, and you said, but at the moment I can't pay it, and in turn they beat you up. Would you not have people who beat you up and me arrested for sending them out? I think you would. And I think that all those people should be arrested, including the people, the bank who sent them out, the managing directors, all the recovery officers, and all the directors of that company should be all hauled in. Why they send people out in that job to do that job in the middle of the night? And what controls had they put down for them people?
It kind of seems to me that this seems to be the new way that when the banks break the law and send out the thugs, that the Gardaí are happy to turn a blind eye. But yeah, as you just said, if it was you or I who send the boys around, we'd be picked up and prosecuted straight away.
There'd be a big question mark there. Do the Gardaí actually know this is going on? Have the Gardaí prior information that this will be taking place? And are they letting it happen?
Well, I mean,
Did anybody ever ask that question?
Well, when you look at the gas pipeline that's going on, they know exactly what's going on there, and they're happily terrorising people down there as well. Anyone who asks questions. So
why are they standing back and allowing it to happen? When they're being if these people are notifying them, we'll be in the area tonight.
Obviously, they're just following orders as well.
What?
It seems maybe the Gardaí are just following orders as well.
Who can follow orders when their neighbours are being terrorised and beaten up for to cover up banks? The banks have already been bailed out. Regardless, Friends First will say that they have not been part of the bailout bills are from none, but they have benefited from it because they were part of the bank guarantee scheme anyway.
Yeah, I think, Timmy, you'll find that the Gardaí will just say, well, listen, I have a mortgage to pay and I have kids or a family or whatever, so I have to just do what I'm told, you know?
And rightly so.
Yeah.
But their job also is to uphold the law.
I agree, totally agree, yeah.
And if they know that there's going to be a breach of the law, they should be there to stand in and be counted.
So
it took a Tipperary TD to go down to Wexford to highlight this issue. Do you think if Matthew McGrath didn't go and highlight this issue, we would not be talking tonight? It would be all in history. That family would be left in shreds. And, there's enough of suicides and everything going on in the country. But there's no need of it going on in the name of banks.
No, I totally agree.
They are being left there. How many cases is out there that we don't know about? These people are constantly out there every night. There is a report that on the same occasion that there was another tractor taken somewhere else, and that the boys doing the repossession of the same men, and they duped the person that had the finance on the tractor into paying them over 20,000 in cash, and and not giving it to the bank, and then coming on repossessing the tractor as well for the bank.
Yeah, it's just madness.
There is stories out there now, how many you can believe, how many you can't, but there must be some grain of truth in it.
Well, Timmy, we've reached that time, but listen, if you hear anything, or if there's any updates of information, by all means, get in touch with us here, because we're happy to let people know what's going on, because people have to know that this is going on.
Yeah. But if there was more TDs like Matty McLeod that would stand up and be counted, this would be a far better country. They're on about that there's too many TDs in the country. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. But how many of them are actually doing anything for nobody? Not even towing the party line.
Yeah.
I can't understand how people can tow these lines and see wrongdoing being done. All the Labour Party, except for one,
because they have
and they made promises for the budget. Now they've totally and utterly disregarded the people.
Well, that's because they have self-interest, Timmy. They just have self-interest and they're taking care of themselves, which is what we've said before on the show. But listen, we'll let you go now, but listen, thanks for coming on. And listen, the best of luck with everything you're doing down there. And if there's any news, obviously get in touch with us. And we'd be happy to get you back on and talk about it. But
okay,
thanks again. Take care of yourself.
Okay, bye now.
Bye-bye. Okay, that was Timmy O'Brien regarding the Friends First and the bailiffs gone out, causing a bit of issues there. And obviously hurting people, and there's a case going through. And you wouldn't believe it unless you hear it. Unless you hear about it, So sorry about the echo, by the way, on the mobile phone there. It's just one of them things. For some reason, that happens every now and again.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just going to throw in there. I was experimenting on the chat box there with some stand-up comedy. Yeah, it's not going too well either. Nothing. Andy says, when the Gardaí accompanied the sheriff, they never seemed to stop any of the security trespassing, assaulting or violating people's rights. And there are plenty of videos out there to prove and show them holding purchaser owners back. That's quite interesting. And another one there was, Bluebell said, if my boss told me to do something that was against my moral code, I would say no. I agree with that, but to be the kind of, as Alan would often say, throw the old spanner in there, be the devil's advocate. And this is one that's come up time and time again. And I've just wrote on the chat box that if your boss said he'd sack you if you didn't do it, and you had a mortgage and several small mouths to feed, would you still refuse, knowing that your employment will be terminated, or would you just still do what you were required to do, but do it under protest? It's kind of an interesting one.
But that's what Tony Farrell did in the South Yorkshire Police, where he was not an investigator. He was an analyst, intelligence analyst, and the information that he found out went against his morals. And what happened? They got rid of him. Yeah. See, that's the thing, we all might say, oh, I wouldn't stand for that. But when you look at the situation and you're, in a company and you have to pay your mortgage. I mean, I've been when I lived over in London, I worked in the corporate world, as a lot of the regular listeners know. And I had a boss who was a complete and utter, not a nice man, okay?
Okay.
And I would just love him to let rip. But at the end of the day, I thought, well, I had a mortgage and a family to support. And I know what would happen if I did do that. So I had to bite my lip. I mean, I did actually deal with it. And he did get a verbal warning eventually. But I kind of ruffled the feathers, and I was never the same after that, because he kind of looked at me in a different way. But something had to be done, and I did it, basically, because I just had enough of it. But there's people that will suffer in silence because they're looking at, I kind of looked at it and said, look, I know we have a mortgage and a family to support, but I'm not putting up with this. Other people would be different. They would say, look, I have a mortgage and a family to support, I'm not saying anything. And this is the problem that we have. But we need whistleblowers, or people who work in areas of government, who can just come out and just tell us what they've seen, what they've heard, and any documentation information they have that can help us. They'll be anonymous. They don't have to tell us who they are. They can contact us through email, and if they want to put an anonymous mask on so we don't recognise them, that's fine. That's not a problem. But we need to get information to start shutting this corrupt system down that we have, and getting people in, get a party in that is for the people, and get people power back in. Because if we don't do that, we might as well say goodbye to our freedoms and our rights, because that's what's happening. It's unbelievable that the likes of Gilmore and Enda Kenny are seeing all this going on, and yet Europe, the Troika, I said it before, didn't I?
The Troika.
Are saying...
You keep thinking the Troker boxes.
I am, yeah. No, because I've seen the Troker box with Enda Kenny on it as a joke.
That's brilliant.
That was brilliant. But
we've got one in our kitchen, and when it's full, we're going to send it off to Finn again.
Yeah, I think they need
or
it.
or whoever the hell they are.
Yeah. But Europe are saying close the loophole. What, the loophole in the Constitution that says a man has inalienable rights and invincible rights, and close that loophole, and give the banks more authority to do repossessions. Now, I think that has to stop. And we urge everybody to start looking at voting DDI as a possible alternative party just to our service, as they call it, just to get these clowns out of government. To be honest with you, that's what it's really about. So if you try and promote, try and get the education out there, if you can. Now, I want to just quickly we've 10 minutes left, and obviously next week is the 21st of December. It's the end of the world, according to some people.
Yep.
Okay.
It is. So listen, it's been really, really great. Good luck. Bye.
Yeah, good luck. Bye. Now, next next Saturday, I've apparently been told I'm going food shopping. Okay, so I kind of said this. I said, well, okay, so thousands of years people have talked about this change and all the indigenous tribes and blah 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 blah. But we have to go food shopping because it's Christmas.
Well, I think the Mayans might have something to say about that.
Yeah, I think they might have. So I just said to my partner, I said, look, let's just keep that loose. Let's just keep it loose, just in case. You know what I mean? We don't know. Chances are, you know, the chances are nothing's going to happen because it's going to be a conscious shift.
Yes.
But there is so much talk about this, so I'm open to most things anyway. But I'll tell you what we're doing next Friday night. If there's any insomniacs in our listeners, we're going to be on United Strike and possibly be rebroadcasting it on OYM. You're going to have at 1 a.m. in the morning, because that's the time. We're going to have myself, Steve, JP from Wolf Spirit Radio, Karen Tostado from United We Strike, Siobhan Ceresi from Humanity Transcending, and Detlev from Wake News, and possibly Vinnie Eastwood from Vinnie Eastwood Show. All on the same show, round table, 1 a.m. tomorrow, or on Friday, which is the 22nd, technically speaking. And then on the Sunday, we're going to have everybody there except Vinny, because Vinny will be probably still in bed. But we should have everybody else on the Sunday. So we're going to say, right, we're in the 21st. Did anything happen to you? Anything happen to you? And then on the 23rd, we're going to say, do the same thing. And we're going to be talking about things. And you never know. It should be a bit of fun anyway, for a bit of a round table, open mic session. So you're all invited to the End of the World party on OYM, if you want to call it.
Bring a bottle.
Bring a bottle, bring your own, bring your cake. And so that's what's really planned for next week. So if you are a person who likes to stay up late and listen to the show, we're all going to be on Friday night talking about the 21st and everything else. That's if the world hasn't ended. And on the Saturday I'll be going shopping by the look of things.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Well, what are you hoping for?
Food.
All right, so you want to go shopping? That's grand.
Well, it's Christmas shopping, you know. But I don't know, if this so-called wave comes in and we have 8 minutes of consciousness, of pure awakenness, and then the devices they put in place to keep this down on the planet for 3 months and blah 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 blah, you know. Yeah,
as we spoke during the week, and we mentioned about this awakening, this wave that's coming. I know you did say that there are people who are trying to extend it for longer than the 8 minutes. They want to have it for a couple of months, if they can. Yeah, that'd be fantastic. But I've just lost me train of thought there. Now, wow, oh my God, wow. Sleep deprivation. What are we talking about? Hi, Alan. Stephen here.
Stephen here. Welcome to OYM.
Yeah, no, we were talking about the wave of consciousness. No, it's gone. It's gone. Oh my God.
It's gone,
it's gone.
Isn't it?
It is absolutely gone.
Okay. Well, I was just going to say, just changing the subject a little bit. That's all right. You'll see now, dementia's kicking in there. You need to sleep, Steve. Maybe Vin will talk about that issue that we were talking about earlier regarding Constitution and the Freemasons. I don't know whether he'll touch base on that, but that was quite interesting. I'll just quickly press that.
Sorry, I do apologise. Yeah. But that you were saying what you were saying, and something came into my head, and I thought I must say that. But yeah.
Well, I was
just left.
Well, I was just going to say, time and time again, we've been on the show, and we've heard about Nibiru, we've heard about this, we've heard about that, and this is the end days, and blah blah blah, and we've heard this time and time and time again. And then guess what? The next week we have a show, and then we start, and that was it. So I'm not saying, something might happen, then something may not happen. But if something doesn't happen at all, then we'll be on next Sunday. If something does happen, then we won't be on next Sunday.
Yeah, sorry. Now,
that help?
Yeah. When we were speaking during the week, do you remember I had one of my moments where I just throw caution to the wind, I blurt out something. Well, we were talking about this awakening, and it's supposed to. There was another transcend. No, what's the word I'm looking for? Not transformation. The
ascension.
Ascension. Jesus, what would I do without you?
There you go.
The ascension. We were talking about the ascension. And about 1.6 billion. This is just for kind of maybe people who are more kind of conspiratorial and maybe have a lot more stuff on the shelf. But we heard that there was going to be an ascension, and of all the people on the planet, there was going to be an ascension of 1.6 billion people. And we were discussing it during the week, and just kind of over a cup of tea. And I said, well, how if the 1.6 billion people ascend, if we're part of the 1.6 billion, we'll be going, nice when it was real and we've ascended. However, if we don't ascend, will we then be sitting on the fence going, well, that was a pile of you know what? Or will we be sitting on the fence going, oh, we weren't part of the 1.6 billion. We won't know whether it happened or not, will we?
Well, we won't know. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah.
That's all we're going to do. We're going to have to wait and see. So next week is going to be, when I say we're going to have loads of guests on, but we won't have a kind of guest, because the people who are going to be on are all radio presenters, and which is great because there'll be loads of chat and loads of talking, and we'll be talking about everything. Basically, it's a kind of, it's a global kind of thing where we want to find out, did anything happen in your country? Did anything happen in your country? So we'll have
that could be scary.
Well, we'll have New Zealand, Switzerland, England, well, Scotland, and Ireland and America.
Yeah. That could be very scary. Imagine like if Vinny Eastwood is on and he goes, "Oh my God, it's just hit midnight. It's the 21st and blah blah blah. This is happening and that's happening."
Yeah, because he might get the wave first. You never know.
Or would he be first?
Imagine that. It'd be like the follow the sun type of thing.
Yeah.
Because he's ahead of time, isn't he?
Yeah, he would be.
Yeah.
They will be. I think nearly 11, 12 hours ahead
so
of us.
It'd be Saturday morning for him in New Zealand. When we're up Friday night. So if the wave hits him, he'd be able to forewarn us. Watch out, guys! The wave's coming.
Bring your brolly.
Get your surfboard. So loads of fun and games. But listen, on a serious note, if there's any information that you come across, give us a shout. Let us know. Check out them two documentaries. The one Unlawful Killing with Princess Di. That was quite interesting. Okay, and it's out there. Just Google Unlawful Killing and you'll come across it. And when we get more information regarding the shooting, probably talk about it next week. More than likely, we'll let you know what's happening. I don't know what's on. Do you know what Vin is doing tonight on TNS?
I haven't a clue. I haven't no idea. I'm sure whatever it is, it'll be interesting, as it always is.
This sleep deprivation really is a killer, isn't it?
You're not joking. I don't know how long I can do over. But anyway, yeah, Wing said if 1.6 billion people did ascend, we would probably notice that the traffic would be a little bit lighter for a start. Yeah. And Shane, Fastnet, taxes would go up for sure. They probably would, actually, yeah. And what was the one from Andy? Andy says, for those not actually reading the chat box, Andy said he'd love to turn off the electricity supply for about an hour. It'd really freak everybody out.
Just hit the power station. And don't forget, if anybody knows the chap who's doing the organite around Ireland, the video is on YouTube. Just type organite and then plus Ireland in YouTube and you'll see him. But we need to find out information about organite, because if that works, we want to get some. Because we've got a couple of telephone masts that, that we need to kind of put them around. But we need some evidence that works. We can't just, we want to see what the effect is and how it does it. But if it does work, then we'll be promoting that as well. The other quick thing before we get to that time is, I chased a company in London regarding the smoke detectors. I know it's December, but they're saying it's now going to be March. Sorry, but nothing we can do about that, So, without further ado, listen, have a great Christmas. Well, we'll be talking to you next week, hopefully. But, wherever you are, have a great time. Get everything ready for Christmas and get it sorted and stay safe. And we'll talk to you soon. This is Alan James. Take care of yourself.
This is Alan James for OYM.
OYM Radio.
Yeah. Okay. No, I totally agree. Look after yourselves. Don't spend too much time thinking that the whole world's going to end. It probably won't. But we'll be here next Friday, and hopefully you'll be there, and then we'll do it all again on Sunday, and hopefully we'll have a good laugh. So yeah, we'll talk to you then. Take care. Bye bye.